Now, in case you're super impatient, here's all the code. Go ahead and put it on begin play, and your game will look super pixelated. Just like the video, and please consider checking out my Retro Unreal project template, which has this and a lot of other tricks to make your game look like a super retro, old school 3D game. Here's a quick, simple explanation of how to change the resolution of your Unreal game. That way you can make it look pixelated. So the simplest way to change the resolution of your Unreal game is to use the console. Press the tilde key on the top left of your keyboard and type r.screen%, and then type a number 0 through 100 for that percentage. Let's type 20 so it's quite dramatic. Watch the screen. Notice that now it's extremely pixelated. Good job, your game is pixelated. But of course you can't ask your players to type in a console command every single time they run the game. So let's make a blueprint function. I'm going to put my blueprint function on begin play of the game state. That way it runs every time at the beginning of the game. And in this function, we're going to start with the most important node of this operation, execute console command. And in this node, we can type the same console command that we typed in the in-game console, and we type a number just like before. And once we connect that to our function and run the game and save our blueprint, you'll notice that our game is pixelated, and it's pixelated as soon as we launch it. Good job, your game is pixelated and your players no longer have to hack your game to make it happen. But there are still a couple of problems, and those problems have to do with the nature of resolution. So let me explain a couple of things. Resolution is generally measured as x by y, how many pixels wide, x by how many pixels tall, y. Here's a very low resolution image. If I set my photo editor to set it to 100% zoom, you can see it's very tiny. So this screen is 1080p, that's 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels tall. Takes up pretty much the whole screen to see this image now. An older console, like the PlayStation 1, would have run at a width of 640 and a height of 480. That's 480p. And of course, YouTube videos might run as low as 240 or 144p, which is again the height, not the width. So with that out of the way, there's two issues I need to bring up. One of them is if we have a 4K monitor, that is 4 times bigger than 1080p, roughly. And so even if we set our screen percentage to something like 50 on a 4K screen, that will still look as sharp as a 1080p HD screen. And that's not good. That's not the effect we're going for here. We need it to look more pixelated. So to fix that, we are going to dynamically set the screen percentage based on the height of our screen. And notice I said the height of our screen. The reason we're doing the height and not the width is because some people have ultra-wide monitors. They're super wide, but about the same height as a normal monitor. Alright, so let's work backwards from this execute console command. I just copied that command, and we're going to use an append string node. First put in the console command and take out the number, leave the space in there, and then in this slot we want to put in a number. But as I said, we need to calculate that number, and we're going to do that using two things. The first thing is the viewport size. We make this node get viewport size. It returns the size of the viewport as a 2D vector x by y. And if we split this, it's even easier to see. X, how far left and right, y, how far up and down. And because of ultra-wide monitors, we are going to only use the y to figure out a percentage to set our screen. The other thing we're going to do is I'm going to make a literal float. I recommend making a variable for this. Let's say we want our game to run at something that looks super pixelated, kind of like 240p. We'll type 240 in here, and then we have to do a little bit of math. We know how tall the game window is. In a 1920 by 1080p monitor, it's 1080 pixels tall, but if it's 4K, it's bigger than that. If it's an older, cheaper monitor, it'll be smaller than that. We don't know what it is, but we can figure out what percentage of it this is. Kind of like calculating your score on a school test. We'll divide the percentage we want by the percentage that we have, and I can put it in a calculator to check this stuff. Let's say our screen is, we're doing 240 divided by a 1080p screen. That gives us 0.222. That is a percentage. 240 is 22.22% of 1080, but you'll notice the decimal is over here, and we want a whole number percentage. So to get this little tiny decimal up to a whole number, we'll simply multiply it by 100 and feed that into our append string function. Unreal automatically adds a node to convert this float into a string. And now, when we run the game, we're running this console command, which should dynamically give us a 240p game. And it doesn't matter if we have a 1080p screen or a 4K screen or an ultra-wide screen, it will always be a 240p pixelated game. Here it is. Our game opened up and it's already running at a very pixelated 240p. Thanks for watching, and if you're making a retro style project in Unreal Engine, please consider checking out my retro Unreal project template, which has this resolution trick and a lot of other little tricks to make the game look super old school, like an early 3D game.